walk cycle. So there's a few different ways that it could be jittering. It could be moving side to side. It could be the rotation. It could be kind of popping up and down. In most cases, the jittering, if it's not in the head, so for example, if it's a rotation thing, clean up your rotations, done. That's really it. If it's that simple, I'm assuming you're dealing with a more complex one. So usually the jittering head that's kind of going side to side is when the hips and the spine are not working quite right with each other, and they're countering each other so that the head has to kind of stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. If you were to track the neck, you would probably see some like back and forth motion in that movement. So what I'm assuming is that you're animating the cog of the character. So the whole body is doing this. And then you're animating FK spine doing this. And correct me if I'm wrong. So you're animating FK spine doing that. And those two motions are fighting each other. So the way you would solve it, and the way I typically animate walks now, is that I don't use the cog for the weight shifts. I use the hip control, as long as your rig has that. And what that allows you to do is avoid any counter animation happening in the body, which would then affect the head. And you can much better control your arcs through there. So let me I'm going to save this shot here, and I'm going to open up full character here, and then I'll share my screen again. Okay. Find a character here. Yeah, almost there. So, yeah, there you go. A to the J with the reference there. So, once again, the issue here is that I'm assuming, based on your description, is that if you're using a cog to animate the side-to-side motion of a character, what that means is now if you move the character and then adjust the spine to compensate, which is typically how we move naturally, any tiny change you do to the hips will affect the head. And then every change you do to the spine will affect the head. So you're dealing with two controls that are affecting this head. And if they are not in perfect sync with each other, you're going to get some vibrations and some pauses, and is a pain to fix. It's really nightmarish. Is it bad? No, it's just a pain. So essentially what you want to do is clean up your hips and then track your neck and adjust the spine controls to remove those offsets. You're counter animating. And sometimes you have to animate on ones to clear it out completely, which is a pain. So what I tend to do when I'm animating walks is I'll actually use the hip control for any hip motion like this. And then the spine is just going to move the spine. And then the hips, the actual cog, the only thing I'm going to do is animate the side to side motion through here. So this gives me a lot more control over that motion and avoids this counter animation element to it. It has its own issues, which can be a disconnect in the spine and the hips if you're not careful, where they don't feel like they're influencing each other at all and just moving independently if you're not careful. But in general, it'll give you more natural motion more quickly and easily.